Welcome to the Modern Manifestation Podcast. I'm your host, Bree Brown, a business mindset coach, entrepreneur, and a top competitor in a male-dominated industry. I'm a native Texan, the youngest of all brothers, and a lettuce-hating, wine-loving, curses like a sailor, recovering perfectionist. I've spent over a decade building my commission-based career, and my life's purpose is helping other women achieve the same multi-six-figure success I achieved before I was 25. I have a passion for helping women with mindset, money, and manifestation skills to help every young woman realize her full potential. If you're looking for vulnerable conversations, professional development, inspiration, or even a kick in the ass to get you motivated, you have come to the right place. Thanks for checking out the Modern Manifestation Podcast. Now let's jump right in to today's topic. Hello, and welcome back to the Modern Manifestation Podcast. Today's episode was actually inspired by my partner, Evan. We were talking in the kitchen earlier this week, and I had a situation with a friend/acquaintance, kind of somewhere in between there, and they said something that would have normally really set me off, or something that I initially would have perceived as annoying and or offensive or rude or something like that. And instead, I went into the kitchen, we're having our conversation, we're sitting there cooking together, and I was just like, I'm choosing to believe that she meant that in a more positive way. It just didn't come across that way. And I'm choosing to believe that there was well-meaning intent behind that. And I'm not going to take it in the wrong way. So I'm going to look at this as a positive thing. And I'm talking it through with him, and I was like, so this is what was said, but here's how I'm choosing to interpret it. And I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to go on with my day and move on. And it was interesting because we had a moment of reflection together where I all of a sudden stopped and was like, it's really fascinating because years ago, I feel like this would have festered for weeks and I would have just been focusing on this thing that happened or this thing that was said. And I would have continued to get more angry about it over time. And that's when I realized, I was like, I'm no longer that person. I'm no longer jumping to the negative conclusion. Instead, I'm jumping to giving someone the benefit of the doubt, which overall makes me feel better and happier in my life. And Evan jumps in. He's like, yeah, it's like you're no longer defaulting to the negative mindset. You're now defaulting to the positive mindset. And when he said that, I was just like, holy shit, you just gave me a great idea for my upcoming podcast. I was like, I need to talk about this because you're right. I have done so much work in the mindset that now I'm starting to default to positive, and how different that feels and how much more helpful that is, especially from a manifestation perspective. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. I nerded out over this episode this past week, and I'm really excited to talk about how to redirect your mindset from that negative state or that default negative state to a positive state. Because when you don't redirect your mindset, we have a tendency to want to control the how of manifestation. I see posts all the time on social media. People are like, I can't seem to let go of the how. How do you do that? How do you relinquish control? How do you stop worrying about the how so much? But here's the thing. Letting go of the how will come when you have a more positive mindset. Because a positive mindset drives your emotions, which drives your thoughts, which drives your behaviors. And this is your manifestation machine at work. It's a cycle. Mindset, emotions, thoughts, behaviors repeat. And when your thoughts default to negative, this impacts the entire cycle and how it's working for you. And so your thoughts and the behaviors really focusing on the how will change when that mindset component changes and the emotions associated with that mindset change. So stop worrying about letting go of the how because that's a few steps later in the cycle. If you can get to the foundation of the mindset and the emotional issue first, then you won't have to worry about the how. And at one time or another, most of us are victims to our own negative mindset. That's why I talk about mindset so much on this podcast. Like, I can't get enough of it. I am a personal development mindset junkie because I know that this is what really impacts your manifestation abilities. or what you're trying to manifest for yourself. Manifestation abilities just makes it sound like a superpower, but sure, I like that too. Your mindset is the foundation of what you're manifesting. It is the primer for the life that you're creating. And if you can relate to my past experience, you might also have a tendency to let anxious or negative thoughts come up repetitively. And when these negative thoughts appear as a default, we want to protect ourselves by controlling the things around us. And this negative mindset forces us to try and control the how as we seek safety. So if you're struggling with letting go of the how, this episode is especially for you because, again, to let go of the how, you have to work through this mindset. It's where it all starts. And if you're not in the right mindset, you will crave control to counteract those negative thoughts. So even though this episode will guide you toward letting go of the how, it's not what we're going to talk about specifically, because you will get there naturally. When you enter a higher vibration, the how lets go of itself. You get closer to joy. A mindset with a positive default setting doesn't feel the need to control the how. So we're going to talk about how to change that default setting instead. And I'm not going to lie, working on your mindset can feel really overwhelming at first. You're just like, what the hell? This is who I am. Your thought patterns are long established by now, and they just feel like you. It's just who you are, right? But consider this. What if it's just the who you are that you were conditioned to be by external sources? You saw how everyone else around you responded to things and adopted some version of this for yourself. But how many people in your life were manifesting the things that they wanted? And how many were positive people by default? Because for most of us, we didn't really have anyone modeling this positive mindset for us. And from my own experience, the people in my family were all so negative, and a lot of them still are, honestly, that I thought anyone that was genuinely positive or happy was just fake. Like, I thought there was no way they could actually be that way all the time. And then I would see those people have so much success, and I'd get angry. I'd think things like, ugh, they're so positive and peppy, and they always get what they want. How annoying. Maybe that resonates with you, or maybe I just sound like an asshole. But what I didn't realize is that they knew something I didn't. They knew the importance of a consistent, positive mindset, and it was working for them. When you begin to change the way you think, you learn to let go. And as Wayne Dyer always said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Changing your mindset or your perspective is the single most important step you can take to becoming a master manifester. There are so many things that make up your mindset. So let's focus on the one important portion of this for today, controlling that default response. Your default response or your thought patterns are in place based on a set of neural pathways that form your overall mindset. And these pathways were formed by repetitive electrical messages traveling down across your brain and causing the path to get deeper and deeper. And when you continuously practice negative thoughts, then of course you're just exercising that neural pathway over and over again, and it just becomes even more habitual. And very likely, the reason that a lot of people around you growing up were either pessimistic or anxious or just had a lot of negativity is because these neural pathways, this negativity, has allowed humans to survive for so long. We benefited from these pathways for a long time, so we're programmed to keep them. Because if you were suspicious of everything, you were more likely to survive out in the wild. If you were always cautious and anxious about what danger might be lurking around the corner, then you were more likely to identify a threat quicker. So you might not go out at night and get eaten by that bobcat, right? Because you might have a thought that's like, oh no, nothing ever works out in my favor, so I guess I'll just sit here in the cave and not go out even though I'm hungry. That helped us. Evolution rewarded that negativity and that anxiety because it kept us safe in a lot of ways. It's also that ego component. But this mindset is antiquated, and it no longer really helps us in our current modern world. We're not usually getting chased anymore by lions in the street. So what can we do to change this process that evolution has helped us keep? It starts by exercising the positive response more. And it's going to feel really unnatural at first, because at the very basic level, it is. You'll have to consciously form a positive habit and begin to wear in this new neural pathway until it's as deep as the negative response. And we know that this is possible based on the research of neuroplasticity. What this tells us is that with repetition and conscious decision making, we can change the way our default setting is. So instead of always jumping to the negative conclusion, we can jump to the positive. But you have to be cognizant of your reactions as they happen, and then redirect the reaction in a positive way as best you can. So this process of change will be hard at first, like anything else. And if you're like I was, it can feel like every other thought you have is negative. It can feel overwhelming to tackle this anxiety or this pessimism. But it does get easier. Not all of your thoughts are negative. They just might feel that way at first. And when you begin this process, it might not feel like it's making a difference at first. So find a way to track your progress over time. So maybe day one, you give yourself a percentage, right? You're like, what percentage of my thoughts were negative today? And then wait about a month and score yourself again. And then just keep doing this every month. And over time, you'll start to notice a difference in your overall mindset and how it's improving. But again, this is going to take time, right? Think of how long you've been conditioned to have that negative response. Now, it's not going to take that long to change that habit, but it will take some time, right? This isn't that instant gratification. I'm looking at my fellow perfectionists out there. This is not instant gratification. Progress over perfection. So here's how this works in real time so you can recognize how to break this vicious cycle for yourself. Something happens externally. You immediately experience a negative or anxious thought and response. And when this happens, you need to stop yourself in real time and redirect to a new positive thought. Don't sit there and give that initial negative thought any more energy. Don't allow yourself to feed it and concentrate on how bad you feel for having had that thought to begin with. This is only deepening that negative neural pathway. And do not beat yourself up for having these thoughts. Remember, it's your conditioning that's caused these thoughts, not you. Hell, you can even say it's evolution's fault. So when this negative thought comes, just notice its negativity. Do not feed into it, but then stop and redirect. Instead, think something like, I do not actually believe that because of XYZ. I choose to believe blank. Redirect and set yourself on the proper course. And the more times you repeat this process and correct yourself, the less time you're going to sit in that negativity. And over time, that negativity will just get replaced with this positive new belief that you have. So here's a personal example of mine. A few years ago, I was having a rough week. Like, there were issues at work with a coworker. I totaled my car. We had to get a new washer for the house. The power went out for the whole day when I was sitting there trying to paint the living room. Like, you know what kind of week I'm talking about. You've probably had a similar one for yourself at some point. And immediately I just thought like, well, isn't this just my fucking luck? Like, of course the power went out. Why wouldn't it? It's the cherry on top of this whole week. Nothing is going right for me. And then I remembered, wait, these are not the kind of thoughts I want to have anymore. And this is also not true. There are some things going right for me right now, even though I'm just not focusing on those things, right? And here are all the things that are going right for me. And then I listed them for myself. And then after reminding myself of all the good things going on, I started over with a new version of this thought. Things haven't been great for me this week, but there's something to learn from all of this. And I'm not sure why, but these things happened for a reason and I just can't see it yet. The universe is always working for me when I'm aligned with my highest self. I'm always on the right path. I choose joy. Things will always get better from here. And instantly, I felt better, regardless of the circumstances surrounding me. And it has nothing to do with the situation that I was in. It had everything to do with how I was viewing it. And my initial gut reaction was that negativity. The woe is me. Why is this always happening to me? My life sucks. You've heard this stuff before, right? It's probably some similar to some of the things you've had in your own head. But then I stopped and said, no, I don't want to believe in those things anymore. That's not true in my current circumstance. And there's so many reasons why those negative thoughts were actually inaccurate or not factual. So here's all the reasons why that wasn't true. Here's this more positive feeling thought that I choose to believe. Things are not going perfectly right now, and that's okay. I have something to learn from this. But I'm always on the right path and things are going to get better. This is an important mindset to get into because you can't always control the external conditions around you, but you can control your reaction to them. And the more you actively choose to feel good, the more your vibration will rise to align with that goodness and joy over time. And not instantly, right? Like I said earlier. But over time, notice the negative thought, stop, reset, and restart with a better feeling thought. Repeat. Repeat, repeat, repeat as many times as it takes. That's it. This is a practice. Progress over perfection. It's not about nailing positive thoughts every day. It's about creating new neural pathways in your brain so that you can start to have more positive thoughts to choose from as your default setting. And over time, this will become your default. And it'll be beautiful when one day someone says something to you and your immediate response is, they must have meant it in this way. I'm so glad they said that. As opposed to, oh, that's so annoying. I can't believe they said that. Like, imagine how much more beautiful your life could be if your default response was always joy and positivity. I can't wait for you to get there. I know that you can. For me, it took about 5 years. I know some people, it took them 6 months. I think I was just a little more hard-headed than some people. So, know that it's a process. Know that it'll happen over time. And know that you're always on the right path. And you can do it as quickly as you want to, or as quickly as you're willing to jump into it with. I don't think it needs to take 5 years, honestly. Just totally fine. It happened when I was ready for it. So to summarize what we've talked about, letting go of the how will come naturally when you start to default to positivity. And creating a positive default will happen when you mindfully watch your thought patterns and behaviors and begin noticing when you're falling into that negative habit and gently redirect yourself toward a positive thought again and again until the positive thought becomes the default setting, the more practiced neural pathway. If you enjoyed this topic, next week I'm also going to jump into the emotional guidance scale, so that way we can continue this discussion and talk about what to do when you're stuck in a negative emotion, and how to get out of frustration and into that positive mindset when you're just not feeling it. So that will be next week. I'm really excited to bring all that topic as well. And if you know someone who is openly struggling with this negative mindset, please share this episode with them to give them some ideas to think about. I find that that's the best way to create accountability, having two people working on a similar issue together. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and I will catch y'all next Monday. Until then, go out there and manifest some miracles. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this podcast, hit subscribe so you can stay up to date with new episodes. As always, we would love it if you would share this episode with friends and family who could use the inspiration. As a new podcast show, we would really appreciate your honest feedback so I know what you like and what you could use more of. As a thank you for leaving us a rating, we will send you our 7 weekly tips to create space for abundance. Make sure you screenshot your review and email it to us at hello@themodernmanifestation.com so we can send them straight to your inbox. If you'd like to stay connected, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook at Modern Manifestation, or you can head to our website at themodernmanifestation.com. Thanks again for joining me, and I will catch y'all in the next episode.